Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I am Shahana Firdausi, lecturer economics. Today, after so many days, I have come with chapter 9, aggregate income and expenditure. Today, I will discuss on some conceptual terms related to aggregate income and expenditure. So, let us know what do we understand on aggregate income and expenditure. When we discuss on aggregate income and expenditure, that means we understand the total income and total expenditure of any economy of any country. So, aggregate income is the combined income earned by an entire group of persons of a country. So, this combined income, this comes from various sectors of an economy. We know that in an economy there are various sectors like agricultural sector, industrial sector, service sector, and so on. So if we consider this sector as 1, 2, 3 up to n, n means any number of sector. So if economic sector is 1, 2, 3 up to n and goods and services produced there are x1, x2, x3 up to xn, means x1 is the production of sector 1, x2 is the production of sector 2, x3 is the production of sector 3 up to xn, means xn is the production of n number sector. And to determine the aggregate income, we have to find out the market price of these products of various sectors like P1, P2, P3 up to Pn. So here P1 means price of x1 product of sector 1, P2 means price of production of sector 2, P3 means price of production of sector n, that is xn. In this way, how can we get the aggregate income? So let us see this equation. Here AI means aggregate income and Y means it denotes national income. So here we are multiplying the total product with their price to get the aggregate, to get the income from various sectors. Like when we multiply P1 x1, that means we are getting the total income of sector 1 because x1 is the production of sector 1 and P1 is the price of that production. So when we multiply it, then we get the money value of that product of sector 1. In this way, we have to find out all the income from various sectors. So we have to add all this money value of various sectors, like here P1x1 plus P2x2 plus P3x3 plus Pnxn. In this way, we are adding all the money value of output from various sectors. In this way, we get the total income or aggregate income like this. Summation, we know summation means total, Pi xi. So here I means 1, 2, 3 up to n and I means 1, 2, 3 up to n. So xi means sector 1, 2, 3 up to n sectors total production, and Pi means 1, 2, 3 up to n sectors total product price. So when we multiply this Pi and xi, then we get an aggregate value, and that aggregate value is the aggregate income of an economy, because we have got the total output of all the sectors, and by multiplying it with price we get the total money value, and that money value of total production of various sectors is called aggregate income, because these money value actually distributed to the various sectors of economy. So when we say aggregate income, we also say aggregate output also, because from aggregate output we get the aggregate income. So let us know separately what is aggregate output. Aggregate output is the, this is total, T-O-T-A-L, total. Aggregate output is the total amount of output produced and supplied in the economy by all sectors using the resource of the country in a given period. So normally given period, actually it is estimated in a year. So in a year, by using the resource of a country, what amount of output is produced in the various sector, the total amount of that is called aggregate output. So what is aggregate income? Aggregate income is the total amount of income received by all factors of production in an economy in a given period, which is equal to the money value of aggregate output. So aggregate income is actually the money value of aggregate output, because this money value actually distributed to the factors of production. That is, in the various sectors, the production is going on that are produced by different factors of production. So by selling those output in the market, the sectors get the revenue. That is actually the money value of aggregate output, and that revenue is distributed to the factors of production as their income, for rendering their service. So in this way we understand what is aggregate output and what is aggregate income. Now let us know that aggregate income, when we discuss on aggregate income, actually it is based on some conceptual terms. What are those conceptual terms? GNI, that is gross national income; GNP, gross national product; GDP, gross domestic product; NNP, net national product; NNI, net national income; GDI, gross domestic income. These all are related to each other. Okay, and these all concepts are actually included in aggregate income or expenditure. Because what is income? That are the total expenditure on an economy. What is aggregate income? That income is spent in economy in various sectors. So what is aggregate income? That is also that is actually aggregate expenditure. So these all concepts are included in aggregate income. So let us know one by one. Here we have seen that GNI, that is gross national income, and this is GNP, gross national product. Sometimes we have seen that when we multiply the total national product or national output by their price, we get gross national income. So actually they are related to each other very closely. So this national income, gross national income can be calculated in three methods. What are those? Product method, income method, expenditure method. In this three method we can compute national income, and by these three methods the result we get, they are more or less same. So what is the product method? That is how national income is estimated by this method. Let us see. The proponent of this method is the most influential English economist Alfred Marshall. In this method, national income is calculated by the money value of all final goods and services produced in an economy in a year. So this is actually sometimes ago I have discussed on aggregate income and expenditure. This equation is actually that equation, that is aggregate income, that is P1 x1 plus P2 x2 plus P3 x3 plus up to Pn xn. That is, national income is calculated by money value of all final goods and services produced in an economy in a year. So all goods and services produced in an economy means these all goods and services are produced in different sectors. So different sectors productions are multiplied with their price, and then all sectors productions money value are added, and then we get the national income in product method or summation pi xi. Here pi means 1 2 3 up to n, I means 1 2 3 up to n. That is 1 2 3 up to n sectors production is multiplied by the price of that 1 2 3 up to n sectors production. So in this way, after having the addition, we get the result summation pixi. This is product method. So some precautions we have to keep in memory while using the product method. That is, number 1, to measure national income, when the values of outputs of various sectors are added up, we should be careful to avoid double counting. Okay, because we have to count here only final goods and services, not any primary or secondary goods. So if as we value only the final goods and services, we have to be very careful that there should not be any double counting. In this method, primary and intermediate goods are not measured, only final goods and services are brought into measure. In this method, number 2, in this method, the production of goods for self-consumption should be valued at the prevailing market prices. Okay, that is, goods and services that are not sold in market but people are consuming, they are using it for their self-consumption, that should also be valued, and it is valued at the prevailing market price. Then number 3, indirect taxes have to be omitted from market price of products during measuring national income. Because indirect taxes, these are given to government, and government is using that for other reason. So indirect taxes have to be omitted from market price of products during measuring national income. Number 4, the values of previous properties or old stock of capital have to be ignored, because we are estimating the national income for a given period, commonly that is for 1 year. So the properties of previous year or old stock of capital should not be estimated here. National income includes only those goods and services that are newly produced within the current period or year. Then number 5, correct data and information have to be collected or used in counting national income, because if data or and information is wrong, then the result or output that will come, that will be over counted or under counted. So correct data and information have to be collected or used in counting national income. Number 6, money earned from abroad have to be added, and money paid to foreigners have to be deducted in calculating national income. because money earned from abroad will be added to any country's national income, and the money that is paid to foreigners that is actually outflow from our total national income, so that has to be excluded. Now let us know the second method, that is income method of estimating national income. English economist Professor Pigou introduced this method where national income is measured as the flow of factor incomes. We know that in production, four kind of factors of production are in service. They are land, labor, capital, and organization. So the output that is produced in every sector, when that is sold at present market price, then the revenue the sector gets that are distributed as factor incomes. So income method means it is a measure as a flow of factor incomes. So the equation we get, that is, here Y means national income, summation R, that means total rent, plus summation W, that means total wage, plus summation I means total interest, plus summation P means total profit. These are the income of four factors of production. We know that land get rent as their income, labor get wage as their income, capital get interest as their income, and entrepreneurship get profit as their income. So the money value of total output that actually distributed to the factors as their income. So the equation we get, that's like this. So here, as we know, laborers get wage, land gets rent, capital gets interest, and entrepreneurship gets profit as the remuneration. So that by adding this total rent, wage, interest, and profit, we get the national income as income method. So here also some precautions have to be taken in this method. That are number one, transfer payment like unemployment benefit, old age allowance, pension, etc. are not included in estimating national income in this method, because transfer payment actually these are grant given by government to vulnerable groups like unemployed people, old age people, like this, and these are not the output or income earned by factors of production. It is completely a grant or aid from government. So these should not be included in estimating national income in this method. Number two, goods and services for which prices are not paid are omitted in the calculation of aggregate income. That means goods and services that we get freely, that goods and services do not charge any price, calculation of that goods and service should be omitted from aggregate income. Number three, interest which are earned from unproductive loan, suppose interest earned from work credit, that have to be omitted from the calculation of aggregate income. This must be omitted, not emitted. So interest earned from unproductive loan, suppose interest earned from work credit, have to be omitted from the calculation of aggregate income, because work credit is unproductive loan, because with this credit no income generation is happened in economy during work time, so that the loan that is earned from this credit should be omitted from the calculation of aggregate income. Then undistributed corporate profit will be included in aggregate income, because actually uh, the total income the total income is being distributed to the factors of production. So one distribution is, that is corporate profit, that is earned by entrepreneur. So some profit they do not distribute because they want to use to reinvest it. So so this portion of profit, actually this is an addition in with capital, so that this undistributed corporate profit should be included in aggregate income. Then services that cannot be measured in money value are not considered in aggregate income. Services that cannot be measured in money value, suppose service of the all female citizens who work in their home always continuously, their service cannot be measured in money value. So this type of service that cannot be measured in money value are not considered in aggregate income. So this is already done. Then number 6, money earned illegally not included in counting national income, as they cannot be estimated easily. Okay, so money earned illegally, actually that illegally earned money very naturally are not in record of government, and people have tendency uh, to hide that income. They do not want to disclose this, and that's why this is not easy to estimate, and that's why money earned illegally not included in counting national income, as they cannot be estimated easily. Number 7, the wealth tax, inheritance tax, tax on lottery, etc. are paid from past saving or wealth that are not from current income. So they should not be treated as a part of national income of a year. So these type of tax should not be included. Sorry. Then number 8, self-consumption income should be estimated and included in the measure of national income. So self-consumption income means actually the properties that are used for self-consumption, that should be that should come in calculation of national income, because the resources or properties that are used for self consumption, if that were not used for self consumption, then that resource uh, would be used by others or hired by others, then they had to pay for that resource. So the resource that are used for self consumption, that must be valued as present market price, and that should be estimated and included in the measure of national income. Number 9, income from same sector should not be counted repeatedly. That has to be taken care of, otherwise there will be a double counting problem. Okay, suppose if I count the money value of steel one time, then when we measure the money value of car industry, we have to be careful not to count steel second time, which has been used as raw material to use car body. So income from same sector should not be counted repeatedly. That has to be taken care of, so that there will not be any double counting. Now let us see how national income is measured through expenditure method. Who introduced this method? American economist Irving Fisher introduced this method. In this method, national income is measured as a flow of expenditure. Because the money that are earned by various sectors, the money that are earned by the factors of production, they again spend it in economy in various activities. So through expenditure method also we can determine the national income. So the equation is like this. Here Y means national income, C means consumption expenditure of private sector, I means investment of private sector, G means consumption and investment expenditure of government, and X minus M means net export. Here X means export and M means import, we know that. So net export means here by export an economy earn foreign currency, and by import an economy spend money. So from earning money we have to subtract the money we spend in international trade. In this way we get the net export. So in this way, by adding all kind of expenditure in an economy, we get national income in expenditure method. So here also some precautions we have to take, like number 1, interest on unproductive public debt. Sometimes ago I told about war debt, like that. Here public debt means what? Government debt. So interest on unproductive public debt, that the money that is borrowed by government will not be counted in national income, because that does not generate any income, that does not add any income or value to the economy, so that should be excluded. Then number 2, expenditure on transfer payment by government such as unemployment benefit, old age pension, aid, grant should not be included, because no productive service is rendered in exchange of this payment by recipients. Okay, that means who received this unemployment benefit or old age pension grant, who received, they are not giving any service to economy in exchange of this payment. Okay, so this is like a help for them from government. So transfer payment should not be included in computing national income. Then number 3, depreciation cost of capital has to be excluded from total public and private investment to measure national income. Here, what is the meaning of depreciation cost? Depreciation cost means the whole year, the production work went on the whole year, and so that many capitals is consumed in production work. So many machineries has to be replaced, or a new capital has to be replaced, or any capital that has to be mended. uh, so this type of cost that are related, this is called depreciation cost, and this cost has to be taken to maintain the capital stock. So this type of cost of capital has to be excluded from total public and private investment to measure national income. All indirect taxes from total expenditure have to be excluded. This is explained in the previous method also. Then number 5, the expenditure on second-hand goods should not be included, as they do not contribute to the current year's production of good. Okay, because second-hand goods are the production of the previous year. So this should not be added in present year's national income estimation. Number 6, expenditure on intermediate goods such as fertilizer and seeds by the farmers should also be excluded to measure the production of farmers, because we have to avoid double counting. Okay, because when we counted the output of fertilizer industry or seed industry, then we have already counted this fertilizer and seeds. So when we calculate the production of farmer, that time we should not calculate fertilizer and seeds again, because they are used as these are used as intermediate goods for farmers. We have to calculate only the final product. So fertilizer and seeds as final products already counted when we measure the output of fertilizer industry or seed supplier. So when we calculate the farmer's production, then these intermediate goods we should not calculate again. The newly added thing only, the newly added production that are for the service of farmers, that only have to be calculated. So in this way we can avoid double counting. We have to include only expenditure of final goods and services to estimate GDP. Then number 7, we have to exclude net dues of international trade and include net receipts from international trade to estimate GNP. That sometimes ago I discussed on net export that we have to add only the export income and we have to exclude import expenditure. So actually this is here we have to exclude net dues that we have to pay to abroad, that we have to exclude, and we should include the net receipts from international trade to estimate GNP. Now let us know what is NNP or net national product. This is also an important thing. Sometimes ago I told about what is depreciation cost, that is to maintain the capital stock, that is the machineries or capital items that are worn out by using. We have to mend that or replace that. For that reason we have to spend some resource, that is called depreciation cost. So from gross national product or from gross national income, that is from GNI or GNP, when we subtract this, depreciation cost, then we get the net national product. So let us see, net national product is the monetary value of finished goods and services produced by a country's citizens, whether overseas or residents, minus the amount required to purchase new goods to maintain existing stock, that is depreciation. So to understand NNP, we need to know what is GNP, the definition of GNP. Gross national product or GNP is the monetary value of finished goods and services produced by a country's citizen, whether overseas or residents. This is in a particular year or a particular period, that is GNP. So what is NNP? NNP or net national product is the monetary value of finished goods and services produced by a country's citizens, whether overseas or residents, minus, that means what, GNP minus the amount required to purchase new goods to maintain existing stock, that is depreciation. So you see, what is net national product? Here is a sentence. This sentence means what? This is GNP. So GNP minus depreciation is NNP. That means what is net national product? It is the monetary value of finished goods and services produced by a country's citizen, whether overseas or residents. That means the goods and services a country's citizens produce in a particular period, that is finished goods and service, whether they are staying inside the country or outside the country, that is called GNP, and that GNP minus depreciation cost. What is depreciation cost? Depreciation cost is the cost, that is the amount required to purchase new goods or capital to maintain existing stock of capital, that is depreciation. So NNP means GNP minus depreciation cost or capital consumption allowance. This is NNP. So when we subtract depreciation cost from GNP, we get NNP. Now we need to understand what is real GNP. We know that there is inflation in an economy. Within a time period, price of goods and services sometimes increase, sometimes decrease. So when overall price of goods and services increase with a span of time, then that we call inflation. So to remove the effect of inflation from the GNP value, when you remove the effect of inflation from the GNP value, then we get real GNP. So we can determine real GNP from money GNP by omitting the effect of inflation. So how can we get that? We know that to measure the inflation, we always take a base year's price first. Base year means a year which is suitable in every side. That is the year when there is no high inflation, or there is no natural calamity, or there is no that is political turmoil, that is a very uh, every side a very comfortable year. That type of year we take as base year. So we consider base year's price as 100. So if price of product increases by 50%, then the new price index will be 100 plus 50 equals to 150. That means in the base year, if the price of any product is 100, and in the present year when we estimate national income, that time if there is 50% inflation, then the base year price will be now 100 plus 50 equal to 150. So now how can we get the real GNP from money GNP? That means how can we omit the effect of inflation? There is a formula. Let us see. Suppose money GNP is 400 crore. So what is the real GNP? Here we can call real GNP constant GNP at constant price. Okay, that means real GNP, we can also call real GNP as GNP at constant price. That means we are omitting the effect of inflation. That's why in the base year price we usually consider 100, but we will consider now 150 to omit the effect of inflation. So the real GNP formula is GNP at market price divided by price index into 100. So here the money GNP is 400 crore and price index is not 100. We will consider as 150 into 100. Then we got 266. This is the real GNP. That means apparently we see that national income is 400 crore, but actually the economy is benefited by 266 crore. The rest of the amount is actually for inflation. The rest of the amount of the 400 crore other than 260, that is actually the amount of inflation. Actually economy is benefited by the additional product of 266 crore. So this is called real GNP. Now let us know what is GDP or gross domestic product. GDP is the monetary value of all the finished goods and services produced within a country's border in a specific time period. Sometimes ago we have learnt about GNP, gross national product, where we told that GNP is the monetary value of all finished goods and services produced by the citizen. That means the focus was on the goods and services produced by the citizen. But here in the GDP, the focus is on the place, that is inside a country's border. the finished goods and services that are produced within a country's border in a specific time period, that is called gross domestic product. So according to Professor P.S. Samuelson, he defined GDP is the sum of the dollar values of consumption, gross investment, government purchase of goods and services, and net export produced within a nation during a given year. So here dollar values means actually money value. GDP is the sum of the money value of this consumption, gross investment, government purchase of goods and service, and net export produced within a nation during a given year. So it is commonly used as an indicator of the economic status of a country or the country's standard of living. Okay, that means GDP. By GDP, we know the local strength of a country, economic strength of a country locally. Now let us know the difference between GNP and GDP. The GNP formula we get in expenditure method C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Then when there is no foreign sector, that means when there is no international trade, then we get GNP equals to GDP. When there is no X minus M, there is no international trade or foreign sector means there is no X minus M. So C plus I plus G, this is GNP and GDP both. So we can write GNP equals to what? GDP plus X minus M. So in this equation, we can write this way. Production of foreigners in GNP as citizens production is estimated. So production of foreigners living inside the country, their production are excluded from GNP. Okay, foreigners production should be excluded from GNP. Production of citizens living abroad are included in GNP because in GNP citizens production are estimated whether they live inside the country or outside the country. So citizens living abroad are included in GNP. GNP measures the economic state of a country. Okay, so by GNP we can measure the economic status of, we can compare the economic status between various countries. Now let us know the feature of GDP. GDP equals to C plus I plus G plus XN when there is international trade, and then C plus I plus G plus XN, that is net export, that is GDP equation. Then when there is no foreign sector, then GNP equals to GDP. So just reverse of it. So GDP equals to GNP minus X minus M, we get GDP when there is no foreign sector. Production of foreigners living inside the country are included in GDP because gross domestic product focus the production that is done inside the country, that is within the boundary of a country. So within the boundary of country there live not only citizen of a country but also foreigners. So production of foreigners should be included in GDP. Then production of citizens living abroad are excluded from GDP because GDP means the production within the boundary of the country. So the people who are living abroad, citizens who are living abroad, as they are not staying inside the country, so their production will be excluded from GDP. Then GDP measures the strength of local economy of a country. So we have come to know about GNP, GDP, NNP, GNI, etc. Now let us complete our discussion by an interesting topic, that is per capita income. Per capita income means actually per head income. Okay, so per capita income, it represents the standard of living of any country. So through per capita income we can compare the living standard of various countries. So this is the main index of a country's economic development and living standard. So how can we get per capita income? Per capita income we get by gross national income of a particular year divided by total population in the mid-year of that year, of the year. Okay, that means gross national income we estimate enough for a particular year. So that gross national income we have to divide by the total population of that country in the mid-year, in the middle of the year. So in this way we get per capita income. So hope this video will help you to clear your concept related to aggregate income and expenditure. So my dear students, thank you very much and please practice the topic. Assalamu alaikum.